is you got to buy it. You got to buy it right. Right. And what that means is buying it for the right price, not overpaying for it. Right. So location is obviously huge, but buying for the right price is probably is more important. Oscar, what's going on, buddy?
Hey Todd, how are you?
Good. Good, good. Yeah, thanks for the audible. I've got a conflict later today, so I was moved this up to 5. So appreciate everyone's cooperation. I don't guess Manny got the invite.
Oh,
Um, so does anyone have any specific questions or Q&A or any specific questions that we should address or talk through? I mean, I've got some thoughts and topics to go over, but
Yeah, with the classroom, far as the additional resources that you have available, do you usually connect them to the video or how does that work?
so it depends. If I'm doing a video, um, there's usually at the bottom under resources, there'll be a link to like the actual document.
Mhm.
Okay. And then I'm constantly adding to this. So all the Q&A recordings are there to just, you can watch them. They're prior recordings. The syndication presentations are there. And then the webinars that I've done in the past are, it's just the videos are up for you to watch. Right. But then when it comes to like the actual documents that we're going to use, the deal underwriting, letters of intent, property management questionnaires, all that is in the classroom on school. Does that make sense, David?
Yeah, yeah, but they in a classroom like where?
Well, if you click on classroom, you see like a bunch of boxes
Yeah.
that says like start here, syndication web. You just got to click on that.
Okay. Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah, I see that. I mean, I didn't. I really. So is they kind of like them Google Docs, and then you just send out and wait to get permission, and it's connected to the Google Drive.
Yeah, I guess no, you should be able to download it right away. I mean, like I'm just looking at this letter of intent example because Randall's going to um like I said, we're going to put an offer on the 88 unit deal. If you, oh shoot, I just logged out of this. If you go to the classroom and you go to letter of intent examples and you were to click on that, at the very bottom, there's resources. There's 3 LOI
Okay.
examples. If you click on sample LOI, the LOI shows up, and then there's a little download button. There should be a download button on the right hand of your screen, and then it downloads the Word document. So you shouldn't have to access the Google Doc.
Okay. All right. All right. Sound good.
Awesome. All right. Well, couple of things I wanted to kind of talk through. And again, feel free to jump in, ask any questions you guys have. This is really kind of, we meet individually, but this is your opportunity to kind of run through any questions you have. Um, I want to talk through a couple of things that just have jogged my memory, since the last time that we met. And one is something that we talked about, buying it right, buying it for the right price, right? The other thing that sparked that conversation piece that I wanted to mention after David was sending me a couple of deals to look at is I would recommend in your first transaction, you should buy deals within driving distance of your house, right? So 2 hours typically, or however long you feel like driving, right? Because if you're the owner, you're going to be having to check on the property. You're going to have to be managing the manager, right? Managing the property manager. So if if something happens and you got to go run and check the property, say there's a fire, right? And fire department's called, you're going to get your ass down there and go check on the property. You got to make sure it's in driving distance. You don't want to hop on a flight and you don't want to necessarily, probably don't want to drive 5 hours to go check on something. So if you were to define your location box, if you will, as part of your buy box, I would say within 2 hours of where you live. So, David, those deals you mentioned earlier, they're kind of 2 to 3 hours.
That was about closer to 3.5 hours.
Got it. Yeah. So, I mean, it's your comfort level, right? It's, whatever you think, if you're comfortable with that drive time, then that's totally fine. It's just whatever your comfort is, but make it drivable so you can do it. You can do it in a day, right? Yeah, Benoit, go ahead.
So if you recommend that for the first deal, right? I mean, what changes after that? Why would it be okay for the second deal to be in a different state, in the
Yeah.
third deal?
Yeah, good question. So the reason why I think that's important is because your very first deal, you're going to be so hands-on with it. You should be so hands-on with it that every penny, every square inch of that property, everything there is to do about it. Once you get that experience, though, you can start looking at deals in other markets and relying on other people to help, and whether that's through strategic partnerships of like if you're doing a deal in Dallas, Texas, for instance, I would want to find a local GP partner in Dallas, Texas that you could partner with so that they can keep eyes on the property, right? I mean, it's almost like like for me, when I run my businesses, I know how to run every aspect of the business, right? Whether that's mopping the floors, cleaning the kitchen, to structuring finances, to growing the business, and looking at strategic strategies, right? So I can do it from beginning to end. So my thought is, and I think this is a good way of anyone who's getting into business for the very first time, this particular business, you need to be able to if you're local, you can go and put eyes on it and be able to manage it closely. And also from an investor's perspective, right? If you're raising capital and you're saying, hey, I'm going to go buy a deal in Indianapolis, first question an investor is going to ask you, who's in Indianapolis? Like, who do you know, and how are you going to manage it from here? When you say, I'm going to hire a property manager, right? And that's true, but still, like, you're not there. Like, what if the property manager screws you over, or what if something happens, you need to go? So I just would like to keep it close to home, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, before selecting you, right? I mean, I've listened to a lot of gurus, right? But like, I mean, some of them would say, the first thing we do with you, right, is we kind of select your market, right? It's like, find. So even before you look at properties, right, it's kind of select a market, right, or some markets, right? I mean, do you feel that's like how you would want to operate, in the sense of like, sort of find a market first, or is it more like, you're here, do here, or it's more of I mean, are you like feeling like, that's the first order of the day is like, finding your market, or two markets,
Yeah,
or three?
I think the first order of the day is finding your market and then defining your buy box, right? That's the first thing you got to do, is figure out where you're going to buy, and then figure out how much you can buy for, right? And figure out, your purchase price, the vintage, how old of a property you should purchase, what kind of financing, what kind of, business plan strategy you're going to go for, right? Whether it's value add strategy, or if it's kind of a long-term hold. all that's a part of defining your buy box. So buy box and market kind of go hand in hand. I mean, your market is a part of your buy box, right? But that's going to be your first order of business. Because otherwise you're sort of flapping in the wind. Go ahead.
But you're saying, though, for your first one, right? I mean, you're not really, maybe for your first one, you want something close to home, right? So maybe on your second one, that's when you start thinking about, okay, what would be a good market to kind of start, looking at? Would you say that's...
Yeah. And I think there should always be somebody who's local. So if you want to buy a property in Dallas, Texas, we just got to find a local partner in Dallas, Texas, right? you want to buy one in Nashville, Tennessee, you know, find a local partner in Nashville, Tennessee, just so that there's someone local in the event something happens that you can go check on the property, right? Yeah. What are you guys'
Yeah.
thoughts on that, Johnny? What do you think? Oh, can't hear you.
Absolutely, I totally agree. I mean, you got to know your area too.
Yeah. Yeah, and so for that in market research, right? You know, when you zero in on a market and you're thinking, you know, I'm going to invest in, you know, Atlanta or in, you know, Naples, or, you know, I was just looking at, I was asking, you know, I was asking ChatGPT, like, what are the strongest Florida markets in Florida, multifamily markets in Florida? You know, Miami, Tampa, you know, Orlando, Jacksonville, and Fort Lauderdale. Not Jacksonville, but I would push Miami out of that as well, just because it's too expensive. But Tampa is a good market. Orlando is a really good market, right? So, in looking in your case, Benoit, like if we were gonna, you know, I don't know how far you are from either of those locations.
About 3 hours.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Naples to Tampa is about 172 miles. Yeah, about 3 hours. So if we're to zero in on the Tampa market, that could be doable for you, right?
Mhm.
And go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Well, it's probably easier to find. Yeah, I was saying, you know, if it's closer, it's probably easier to find. I mean, I know people in Tampa, right? So I mean, it's probably easier to find partners there than
Yeah,
kind of far away, right? Um,
yeah,
yeah. Hey, can I just ask just a follow-up question on this?
yeah. Go ahead. That's what it's for.
So, yeah. So, um, you know, so after your first deal, right? Say, I mean, do you think that it's like better to, like, again, identify a market, like say for me, it's like say Tampa or something, and then just really focus there to work in that, only kind of look in that market? Or,
I don't know why I keeps kicking him out. I don't know if it's because of the connection. I don't know. Here he comes back. I don't know, Benoit. Zoom doesn't
you know,
like you for some reason today.
that's probably where I'm at. I am, and I'm the internet, so maybe that's part of it. But yeah, I was just saying that, I mean, of course, like you're big, right? So you probably be like, you know, wherever there's a good deal, I'm gonna go, right? Um, but when you start, you know, like, do you think it's better to stay in that market, or just also go wherever the best deals are?
Or branch out. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of value in knowing a market and knowing, you know, where the good deals are in that market. So I would probably recommend, you know, if we're going to focus on Tampa, for instance, for you, then let's know the ins and outs of Tampa, Florida, and focus on that market. Buy the first deal in Tampa, and then perhaps branch out after that. He keeps getting kicked out. And David, the two deals that you sent me, you said those are both about 3 hours, right?
Yeah, about three and a half hours.
And then Detroit is how far? You're in the suburbs of Detroit right
Well, I
now.
mean, Detroit, 10 minutes.
Right. I actually like Detroit as a market.
Yeah, it's okay.
What do you think?
Detroit is pretty good. I mean, it's okay, but again, Detroit comes with its own challenges. Like I said, I done flipped a lot of properties. Well, not a lot, but I done flipped some properties in Detroit. And the only issue, you know, some of the issues that I had was that, like I said, I had to create a program uh with the shelter to get people to stay in the houses so that the stuff ain't
Hmm.
coming out as fast as I'm putting it in. I mean, I did that and it worked, and things are getting a little bit things is getting a little bit better
Hey,
now as
you know what the
well. But
password for the internet is?
For the staff?
you know,
Yeah.
Detroit comes with it's a good market. It takes some specialized knowledge, but you know, it's a decent market, but it comes with its own challenges where, like I say, Ohio right down the road. And my thing is I'm looking for value add. You know, I'm looking for value add. So I think they both will work well. So it's
Triple
it's
C.
just a
Comprehensive?
it's just a
All
preference. I
capital?
looked in
No.
Detroit.
Okay. Comprehensive.
2050.
I think it's gonna be a little bit more I don't
Well,
know if
here's
2015. What?
go ahead.
yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about market analysis, right? When we're talking about looking at markets, what are we talking about? What are some big characteristics that you think are important when looking at market analysis?
Okay, well we gotta look at
And
some
this
of the
this is kind of
trends.
for everybody. Go ahead.
Well, I'm considering the trends. I'm considering uh what's the people the people that's in the area, you
Right.
know,
The tenant base.
the
Yep.
crime rates.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wanna, you know, so I'm considering uh where the property is sitting at.
Yep.
The I'm considering
Well, another thing just to think about. So even like Detroit, for instance, you want to look at rent growth, right?
yeah, absolutely. Rent growth.
The national average in 2024 was like 1% for rent growth.
Yeah,
And
well, it's going
Detroit,
up.
Detroit is like 3.7%,
Yeah, it's going up. It's going up now.
right?
Yeah, it's going up.
Obviously employment, economic drivers, you know,
Yeah,
that's
that's
good. And just kind of development and investment activity. And like you said, market dynamics would be a lot of like the tenant base, right?
mhm.
Right. And the benefit of really knowing your like investing where you live and kind of where you are is like I know like in Atlanta, there are areas, pockets of Atlanta where, you know, 2 streets over, it may be a war zone, right?
Yeah.
But 2 streets to the right, it's great, right? You got
Well, that's the
you know, great houses, low crime, but literally you go 2 streets over and it's terrible.
well, it's the same. It's the same way in Detroit, but it might not be 2 streets. It might be across the street.
Right.
But Detroit is doable.
Yeah.
Detroit is doable.
I like Ohio though too, man. I love Midwestern markets because they're just I think the people are great typically. You know, it's usually like blue collar kind of working class areas that you know have like strong values of, you know, doing working hard and you know building the American dream, right? So I'm a fan of Midwestern markets for that reason. Yeah.
Okay.
And Johnny, we're focused primarily on Atlanta with you and Haley, right?
Yes, but we do have a lot of investors too. That's funny that you're talking about it because we're losing a couple of them to Kansas City of all places, and the rent has been the return, the ROI has been fantastic for them there. They've sold one house to here and bought 2 or 3 in Kansas City, and they're netting a lot more. So we're seeing a lot of people leaving the Atlanta area because it's priced out. And one of the things I know you guys were all talking about too, one of the questions we always get is about work in your area. I would never recommend going to Detroit yet without a proven record because people even ask us in real estate too, do you know Atlanta? Not only Atlanta, they want to know specific area in Atlanta, like off Alpharetta. Do you know this neighborhood? So it's one of those things where they want to know you're an expert too. So,
Right.
you know, it's a hard, unless you got the talk and can do it with other cities. I would use Todd and whatever he used beforehand and attach myself to him to say like, yeah, we worked in Detroit before.
Right.
You know, they know already.
Yeah.
The investors do. So you got to really know the area because they know the area too, and they're quizzing you the whole time as well.
Yeah, because you're gonna be
you got to stay your lane.
Yeah, exactly. Stay in your lane. That's a good point, Johnny. Yeah, it's a good point. So even thinking like David, like you're gonna, you know, you maybe the 2 deals in Ohio, where were they again? In Columbus?
No, Sandusky and there was near Sandusky. One was in Sandusky, the other one was near Sandusky.
Okay. Okay. And guys, like, you know, I'm obviously hunting deals as well for everybody. But I also, like David, you know, took the initiative. He's sending me deals like, hey, what do you think about this one? What do you think about this one? So did Oscar, you know, with his deal. So also be looking, you know, and I'll make introductions to the brokers that I know in every location where you guys are. Because I know a ton of national based brokerage firms. But also be looking yourself and sending those deals to me so that we can look at them and underwrite them together. Yeah. So speaking of which, Oscar, I wanted to catch up with you just because I know we sent that email to the broker telling them that we were going to get back in touch with them.
Yes.
Right. And then they came back at
6.55,
right,
and
6.55.
and they wanted to know specifics on what we really need or something like that.
Right, right. They have a note about 3 million coming in the next 2 years. Okay. Yeah, we can talk about this on our call, but I think, you know, let's go back. We offered 6.25, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we go back at 6.3,
Okay.
you know? So why don't you just respond to Sam and just say Sam, you know, we feel comfortable increasing our purchase price to 6.3 and you know, and we don't have much, you know, much room after that. And see what he says.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we can deal with the due diligence stuff later. Let's see if we can get a price agreed to, and then we can go through the rest of the LOI components.
Okay.
All
And
right.
I had something to say real quick about
Yeah.
location.
Yeah.
Because I just took a deal. It was a single flip, but I took a flip which was like 2 hours and some change. And just because of that location, like I'm usually like 30 to like 45 an hour tops for most of my project. But changing that to 2 hours and a half on some days really stopped me from going there a lot of time. So let's say once you get your building, and if you really far, like it can take your project longer to get it accomplished. Because that's what I'm dealing right now, because most of my connections are in Delaware and the house is in Cambridge, Maryland, and I don't have local people over there to do the renovation. So I got to bring all my people from Delaware to go over there, and it's a long ride. So things keeps on getting delayed. So it's just something to really look at when you're trying to lock down a
Yeah.
whole entire building.
Yeah, and to that point, if you're doing a value add strategy, you know, you're going to need contractors, right? You're going to
Yes.
need special trades. You're going to need the flooring guy, right? You're going to need the cabinet guy, you know, and now you can rely on your property manager. Your local property manager would likely have a lot of these connections.
Mhm.
But again, you know, you never know if there's some funny business going on between the property manager and the contractor. I mean, you know, this kind of stuff happens all the time, you know, where you'd want to use your guys so you can manage the construction. So
Yeah.
that's another good plug for like why investing local, I think, is the best idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to say something just for just like doing market research.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking, say you have a drive time about an hour, you don't want to do nothing around an hour. You can just put a circle around yourself and then figure out what markets are like where the path of progress is. Where like certain cities like Tampa or Detroit or something like that, there's cities that are happening outside of the city because nobody wants to be in that city anymore. So they're literally like right outside the city. They're called like bedroom towns or things like that. We have them in Atlanta. They all like grew up already. You know, it was the Alpharettas. Now we have the Cummings and the Cantons and the things like that. That if you're not in the town about 45 minutes to an hour and a half outside of that city, there's something going on because people rather live there and they don't work there, but they'll live there. It's like bedroom. They work there, they don't play there, but they do live there. So that's how I've been using, you know, or finding properties that are outside of my area because, like Johnny said, Atlanta you're kind of pushed out with price. So just finding those on the outskirts, and people live out in the outskirts and still say they're from Atlanta, or people on the outskirts still say they're from Detroit. They're out there. So to make it easier for you to find a market, try that out. Just go outside the market where there's a Home Depot at in the middle of nowhere, you know there's something going on.
Yeah.
There's Lowe's, you know, things like that. So
grocery stores, anchor grocery stores. You know, if they're putting in a Publix, you know, they've got some development going on there.
Absolutely. That's very true.
Yeah, so we would call that in the business, we would call that tertiary markets. Right, you're looking at what's called tertiary markets, so kind of outside the core or suburban core of a city. Right, so like the deal Dante is working on, you know, we're about to put it under contract. That's Milledgeville, Georgia. That's 2 hours away. I don't know if I'd call that I'd probably call that a tertiary market because it's a smaller market. You know, but that's an example. So that's a very good point, Dante.
What's it helped out while trying to figure out what to do in Naples? Because I just pulled up Naples, and you know, there's cities outside of Naples or outside of like a Fort Myers or Cape Cod or Saratoga that's outside of Tampa. It's not too far from you, but you don't have to go all the way up in Tampa to find a deal.
Right. Yeah, Fort Myers is I think a decent area. I know I represent a bunch of hoteliers that live in that have a bunch of deals at Fort Myers. Yeah, Naples is kind of the beach, man. I mean, you got, you know, Marco Island right there. That's where all the retirees go from New York, all the snowbirds. You can go to Marco Island, but yeah, Fort Myers would be a decent market to look at, Benoit. Just thinking about the location between Naples and how far that is.
I mean, I don't know if you look at that too, but I mean, for me, especially being in Florida for a few years, right? It's like, I mean, I feel I wouldn't want to buy property near the coast. I mean, with the hurricanes, you know, it's just like, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like you can get into a lot of trouble when that hits you. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
absolutely. And that's so yeah. And to your point, Benoit, Florida may be priced out altogether because of the insurance costs. You know, the biggest deal killers for properties, insurance and taxes.
Mom did what?
Right. So Florida, especially, I think there was only like 1 or 2 carriers that were even writing under multifamily properties in Florida. You know, so that's a good point. But I think it's good, as you're getting started, to at least go through the exercise of looking at stuff local, you know, finding a deal, underwriting it, you know, assessing the insurance costs, you know, and then just making the determination at that point, right? I mean, this, you know, as everyone knows, like this is not this isn't a get rich quick, you know, scheme. This is a down and dirty, do the research, do the work. You know, we may underwrite, you know, 50 deals before we find the right one. Right.
So what you think about affordable housing?
I like affordable housing, but it's kind of a double-edged sword. And I'll tell you why. I'm actually working on a 76 unit deal in Texas with a client that's what's called a LIHTC deal, low income housing tax credit. That's affordable housing. You have Section 8. What's that, Oscar?
So sorry.
Oh, so you've got LIHTC, which is low income tax credit deals. You've got Section 8, which is basically a voucher that you get from the housing authority that pays the rent on behalf of the tenant. I mean, those are really the two kind of programs that are out there. They're double-edged sword because in either scenario, your rent is capped, right? You cannot charge higher than what you're getting. So low-income housing tax credit deals, they make you adjust down the rent to usually 40 or 60% of the AGI, the adjusted gross income of the tenant base of the area. So like if the tenant base, if the adjusted gross income is, $35,000 a year, then the rent is like basically 40% of that. And then you can figure out how much you can charge. So they're not really good value add plays because you can't charge more rent. And they're not really good. Like, I mean, there could be good basis plays. The best time to buy a low income housing tax credit deal is when it's at the end of what's called the extended use period. So these rent restrictions are like for 15 years. And usually it's a developer that gets the credit, the tax credit. So they'll develop a building and they'll say to the government, we will make this for low income housing, but in exchange, you're going to give us, $10 million of tax credits. Right. And so that's the quid pro quo between the government and the developer. So, so it's good for those guys, but then the subsequent buyer, they can't increase the rents. But if the property is at the end of that use period, so typically, like I said, 15 years, if it's like in the 15th year, the 14th year, you can go through a process. It's called the qualified contract process. And you can go through a process where you can release the restrictions off the property. And if you can buy it at that point, then you basically take the governor off and you can increase the rents to market rate.
Okay. What about are you set up to like be a receiver if you're getting something out of receivership, you need an attorney?
Yeah. I'm actually defending lenders. I'm defending my clients from receiverships at the moment. A couple of my apartment owners, they can't pay their mortgage because the variable rate has skyrocketed.
Mm-hmm.
And so their lenders are filing for receiverships on a couple of deals. I mean, I can't be a receiver myself. I mean, I probably could, but that's not what I do.
Okay. So if it was a property in receivership that I was trying to get control
I could work.
how
I
would
could work with you to buy it out of the receivership for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if that's what you mean. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the receivership, guys, is basically a court appointed property manager, and they report to the court. And if the court thinks or the receiver thinks the best use of this property is to sell it and pay back everybody, then they'll do a receivership sale. And to your point, David, that's a really good avenue of trying to find off-market transactions. You can go through these receiverships because if these properties are in distress or in receivership, then they could be selling it at a fire sale. Right. Also be looking at like foreclosure listings, probate court filings. You can go and actually find people who have filed probate actions. Because if there's property involved, typically the beneficiaries of an estate, they don't care about the property. They just want to sell it and get the money from it. Right. So you can just call them up. They have the phone number typically listed and just call them up and offer them 40% of the purchase price of the value and see if they take it. That's usually for single family. You can't really do that for multifamily, but as an idea of hunting deals.
So is it a good idea to purchase a complex that's completely empty?
Well, no. I mean, let me say this, David. I would say it depends because you're going to have a hard time financing it, right? You've got no income.
Right.
I mean, multifamily properties are evaluated like businesses, right? It's all about how much income the property can produce. So if you have no income, there's no assurances to a lender that you're going to be able to pay the mortgage, right? Now, the way that these are structured, though, is you get a 12-month interest reserve from a lender. And so what that means is, say the purchase price is $2 million, the mortgage is $200,000 a year, 10%, right? You would get a loan for 2.2 million, and then the 200,000 would basically just pay the mortgage on the 2 million for a year. So the property is not actually having to fund that interest payment, right? But those deals are hard as a first go. It'd be tough to manage. Did you find one like that?
Yeah, I was looking at one. It was completely empty, man. But it was again, I'm just trying to weigh everything because I'm kind of in a unique situation with the real estate license and the builder license. I got crews already.
Right. Well,
So
is it local to you?
yeah, this one is local. So in thinking about what you're saying and getting back to local, I understand the different pockets and things. I understand the Detroit market. So I'm just brainstorming to see what's going to be a good situation for me. But again, you know, I already got full crews that's doing
Yeah.
that's doing renovations.
How many units is it?
36.
And it's completely vacant?
Yeah, it's
I
completely
wonder if
vacant.
that makes me think, I wonder if the county condemned it.
I'm not. I haven't looked that. I haven't looked that much into it. I was just talking to the guy about it earlier today. But it's
Well, is
complete.
it on market, or is it an off market deal?
Uh, I think it's off market, man. I don't think no. He didn't mention no realtor or none, or nobody that had the listing or none. He was just, when I was talking with him, he kind
Yeah.
of
How did you find out
mentioned
about
it.
it?
Just by networking, just by talking to him. Like I say, uh, I don't flip single families and stuff. So I'm not completely out of the game.
Yeah.
So I still got a few relationships, and I mean people that's doing real estate on a
Nice.
consistent basis. So I was just talking to them and letting them know what direction I was going in, and he just, happened to mention, the 36 unit. So,
Well, I
but
would.
I didn't really get into it because I figured the same thing that you figure. Hey man, ain't no tenants, you know,
Right.
ain't I'm trying to do some value add, but I need some working at the same time too.
Hey, that's adding a lot of value if you could bring those all online, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah. So if I were you, I would maybe get more information, right? Why is it vacant?
mhm.
If has it been condemned by the city? That's typically what happens when we have a vacant property. Is it is it boarded up, right? Has it has it been vandalized? I mean, a lot of times when they're vacants, the lender will come in and secure the property.
I think it used to be like a rehab facility or something that they had started renovating or something, like where they used to have where they was doing like when people come home from prison, one of them programs they got,
Oh,
and they was
okay.
using that building for that, and they started renovating it or something.
Got it. Hey, David, did you form your entity?
Yeah, well, I got a couple LLCs already set up,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm working on. Uh, I figured, really all I had to do is just do a DBA with the
With
LLCs that
Willis
are
Capital
already.
Partners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, any deal that we get under contract, it'll be under contract in one particular entity's name. But then when
Mhm.
we actually close it, we're going to assign it to a brand new entity that will be the investment entity. That's where the investors are going to invest capital into. So they're not, so it's just kind of like a holding company and a branding exercise for you to make
Right.
sure when people look you up, they can see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. Johnny, how are you guys? Have you guys formed that yet?
We're starting to get together with the CPA and getting the website. We just met with the web designer today, so we're getting together. We told him, all right, Todd wants it up, so just get the landing page up and we'll work at it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
get started on it. I got a quick question, Todd. What about Johns Creek? This is my area. It is packed with 55 and over, and it is saturated. And what about converting that? Because I heard some are having a tough time getting it filled, and they may be on the market.
Converting what now?
A 55 and over.
Well, I don't understand. What do you mean?
It's pretty much an apartment complex, but of course you have to be 55 or over to live there. But the rules are, in the area, of course, you don't actually have to be 55. They have to have a 80% occupied 55 and 20%, whatever age. But those are all apartments, and they are, pretty much it's actually nicer than regular apartments too. But I heard through a friend of mine who works there that the owner is having a tough time on one or two of these places because there's so many, and their occupancy rate's 30% right now.
Oh my God, yeah, because it's too saturated.
Yeah, there's too many in Johns Creek.
So you mean converting them to regular apartments?
Right. And that and I heard you saying like, okay, our numbers aren't going to be good to get the loan because it's only 30% occupied, but the conversion, if we're able to and get it at a good rate.
Well, is it yeah, you think it's 30% occupied because the tenant base is all 55 plus?
Yeah, and it's so expensive. It's too expensive for what they're, because they have a full service. It's 12 to 1.
Oh wow, okay.
So you can eliminate all that.
So it's assisted living basically, but
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with those types of deals, there's no real regulatory requirements. I mean, unless they're getting Medicare money, right?
No,
or Medicaid money.
It's cash. It's
all private pay.
Minimum or 5,000 a month for each one of those little places, one bedroom.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
But that's full service. They're getting all the services as well.
Yeah, at 5,000. But the rooms are real nice. I know I have another place a friend of mine was talking about. They approached us too. It's 12,000 a month. It's insane.
Wow. Yeah, I'm working on actually a senior living conversion deal right now, buying them and converting them to multifamily. Yeah, multifamily apartments. I mean, yeah, you just gotta, I wonder what their basis is in those kind of deals, right? I mean, those kind of properties are probably going to be pretty expensive, and they're Class A units, right?
Yeah, it's really Johns Creek. It's real nice, and plus, the owner is, he's retired and is full of money, and this is his gift to the city, which I think is kind of odd, but.
Oh wow!
So that's where we stand. So, and the person works for them right now. We had dinner with her the other night, and that's why we've been so busy not looking at some of your stuff. The people have been approaching us with stuff that they were thinking about, and just try to tell us some stuff that may be up for sale. And
okay. Hey, that's how off-market deals are found, right? I mean, you're sitting here, having networking meetings and
that's where Haley is right now.
Really? Okay,
yeah, she's downtown.
Oh, okay. Well, who's she meeting with?
Just a ladies group over there. Someone's opening up a wine tasting place, and people with a lot of money. So she's trying to mingle with them.
She's so good at that.
Yeah, she's really good. Awesome. She's got great personality for all that.
Yeah, sweet. Well, very good. Very good.
Let's talk on Thursday if you can. I know this is breaking up the whole group, but I'd like to get some more information and see what you think about it.
Yeah. On the conversion stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And then Benoit, I'll ping you separately on Telegram just to get the monthly one or the weekly one-on-one schedule, because I know we haven't done that yet. And then same with you, David. I'll ping you on Telegram. And we'll just get the one-on-one scheduled, okay?
All right.
Perfect.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you for making the audible. Any other final questions or comments?
No.
No. Send back that offer, Oscar, at 6.3. Okay, let's see what he says.
I already did. I already sent the email back.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And then David, keep sending me stuff that you're looking at, and I'll go through it. Okay.
All right, sound good. So you're thinking with those is just to plan on something a little bit closer.
I mean, ideally, but listen, if you want to drive 3 hours to go see the property, then that's fine. That's on you, right?
All right, okay. Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
if I mean, if you think that is, reasonable, then and you can do it like on a Saturday, if you got to go check on something, like for instance, what if a pipe bursts and your property manager is unavailable, right?
Yeah.
And you get a
Okay.
call in the middle of the night, you're the owner of the property, you got to run down there and go fix it.
I got you. I'm gonna
So,
see. I'm gonna
yeah.
check it out.
All right.
Okay.
All right, guys. I'll be in touch individually. Okay.
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Okay.
Take care.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Todd.
Good
All right.
good night.
Take it easy.
See you later.